They were fated to be trifling. Written by Baek Minsuk I. "All right," I asked, feeling a little down. "Where's the toilet?" Before me was a silver gleaming plate with a spoonful of boiled beans. They must have been from one of the cans she had bought. The dull reddish-brown beans seemed to have been poured from a can and allowed to dry and stick there, as if to hint at something fated for me. "All right, where's the toilet?" I asked again, feeling even more down and a bit depressed. Along the plate's edge were inscribed the words "stainless steel," in a style with no stain, no defect, no blemish, and no rust. Just like my first impression of her, it even seemed to hint at a certain action she would take from now on to ensure that I not become a stain, a defect, or a blemish on her life. "All right, where's—" I'd scarcely begun to speak when she just moved one of her fingers, not even bothering to raise her head. She was pointing at a brown bathtub, stretching out stiff and unbreathing, and a toilet still breathing but groaning, crouching low and dark. "You mean that there?" I looked at her, dumbfounded by the open bathroom without even a partition. "Yeah," she said, "that there. You should know what you deserve." She clucked her tongue at me for standing and hesitating. "I won't peek. Go do your business." "Really, I won't peek." "What's so interesting about that little thing?" She seemed to think me overly suspicious. After a long hesitation, but finally mustering my courage, I went to the toilet and dropped my pants. In a split second, I was on the seat. Never had a bathroom or a toilet been so perplexing and so desperately needed. Wondering if she would keep her promise not to peek, I kept an eye on her. Just as I'd expected, she was keeping an eye on me, as I was keeping an eye on her while doing my business. "Stop looking! What's so interesting about this little stinky thing?" The words surged to the tip of my tongue, but I quickly swallowed them back. I knew that protesting against her cheating was useless. Don't give her a reason. The gun lying on her naked knees, a lady's pistol, a product of, believe it or not, knowledge, was advising me. When I came back from the terribly open bathroom, she said, "Don't look at me like that. I kept my promise." Well, if she says so, it must be true. We killed time exchanging details of petty political scandals and gossip about marriages of celebrities utterly unrelated to us. She had a voice like a late-night news anchor at 10 to midnight, conveying neither expectation nor disappointment about her own life and the world. My voice was surprisingly gay and innocent, unusual for someone facing a gun. She and I sometimes shared unidentified coffee poured into a mug with the words "chew and swallow me" on it. Meanwhile, I had to use the open toilet several times, and with repetition, I could manage it without much shame. She also could do her business with me watching her as if by habit, and we eventually drank coffee and continued to converse, either sitting on the toilet or standing. I was a little bored and feeling deceived, as if everything were a lie, and I didn't know what to do sometimes, but came to think that the situation was not necessarily only bad. For example, as she stepped toward the kitchen to make coffee, her breasts moved up and down in rhythm with her steps, and I especially liked her pink nipples. She was wearing only vinyl short pants, and as I had watched carefully, when she went to the toilet, I saw there was nothing under the vinyl. Just imagine. Don't be shocked. At a thrilling height of 178 centimeters, with thrilling cream-colored skin that set off her thrilling pink nipples, her dark, loose hair reaching her waist and her thrilling belly button winking whenever it met my eyes, the appetizing low abdomen still with baby flesh, and the chewy thing hiding in the bush that sometimes forcefully spouted yellow urine. Those attractions were like sweet raisins elaborately placed atop a large cake called unhappiness. I decided to focus completely on the raisins and forget the unhappiness. I then no longer felt the crisis as a crisis. On her pink-pierced nipples were hung rings with metal labels shining in the sunlight. "Don't take it too seriously," she said. "I don't," I said, again sitting on the toilet. "If I think about something too seriously, I'll just play with it at the end. I don't want to play with my life." After a long pause, I added, "Something must have gone wrong, right? There must be some mistake between us." "The truth is, between things everywhere," she said, obviously having misheard the word mistake. Well, it didn't matter. She would move the .38 caliber revolver from the one knee to the other, or from one hand to the other, like the silver metal pendulum of a metronome. That metal pendulum was my future. The moment the pendulum stopped somewhere in the air, everything else would also stop. I know a lot of people have a confused understanding about time. Many writers and filmmakers, as well as many young Koreans my age, and many crazy gray-haired scientists have long considered it a tangled skein. One writer wrote about a day longer than 100 years, and I spent a boring week reading his laborious work that had taken him years to finish. Also, a filmmaker could sweep like a great wave through movie theaters, cable broadcasting nets, and distributors of home videos around the world with a story about T-100 and T-800 who came back from 2029 back to the present. The Terminator stories told how the world would experience tragedy through a nuclear war in 1997, and 5 times I watched the story about the world swept by nuclear dust. Also, one of my friends during prep time for the university entrance exam could even chat about July 1999 the whole day. He'd say things like, "We now have exactly 9 years and 5 months left." At that time, of course, my friend and I both acted as if we really believed we had little time left. If not saved by a certain opportunity, my friend probably would live forever in July 1999, passing through his middle and old age there. I have not yet been saved. If my future isn't saved through some chance or other by July 1999, I will be stuck in that time forever, enduring midsummer's rainy season and scorching sun. If we think about it, we needn't be so surprised about so many people explaining their confused understanding of time with such a banal and commonplace expression as tangled skein. We should rather be sad. The time spent with her was like that too. She and I had scarcely shared a single day together, but we behaved as if we had been a couple for 7 years. In short, she and I were already sick of and bored with each other. Through the frame of the square, angled window that she and I sometimes looked through to rest our weary eyes, we could see that daylight still lingered. Not only did it linger, it showed that evening had not yet arrived. But 3 or 4 hours had already passed since she and I had exchanged memories of our first sex. Confessing those memories in an artificial way, we had laughed at each other, insulting each other. The first sex is always something like that. I can even imagine the relationship between us. We who pretended over the course of a day as if we had been a couple for 7 years. On the day of our encounter, we already have a baby, are pushing a stroller, and are going to a stationery store to buy school supplies. Well, of course, only if she and I truly had a love relationship. But we were not in a love relationship. We were not. As evening approached and the room got a little cool, I already mentioned she was a half-naked, short pantsist. She said, "Hey." "What?" I said. "Did I tell you that the time is up?" "What time?" "Didn't I tell you about the time?" she asked. "What damn time?" I retorted, a little annoyed. She did not respond. In fact, I was fine with her silence. Despite her silence, I instinctively realized what time she was talking about. "Ah, damn it," I murmured, swinging my arms recklessly as if trying in vain to put something broken back together. Listen, something must have gone wrong, didn't it? There must be some kind of mistake, right? Right, she said calmly. What's really sad is that something in us is so trifling. She had again misheard the word mistake. Damn it. It's because I was too confused and stammered. She continued to speak. Also, without such trifles, we wouldn't be able to explain ourselves. She still misunderstood me. But more tragic is, such trifles are really trifles that have nothing to do with us, or that we have no reason to know about. Really, she finished. When she spoke, her words seemed to come from her heart. She was truly convinced, telling me something that can be summarized as, people are fated to be trifling, as if she had first come up with it and were trying to foist on me such an old and banal cheap announcement. Fool, I yelled. You fool. That people are fated to be trifling is an obsolete claim going back even before Old Testament times, as old and antiquated as the origin of mankind. If such a belief hadn't been so bad, people wouldn't have created God so that God could create the world. The belief that people are fated to be trifling is a kind of archetypal despair rampant among all peoples of the earth. So they had created gods and myths, one or two, sometimes several tens of thousands. Even our long-forgotten ancestors, unable to endure their fate of being trifling, turned back time and made their progenitor god create them again. We survive through incessantly cheating ourselves. What's wrong with that? But what's she doing now? Mouth agape, I watched her as the silver metal pendulum that moved from knee to knee suddenly stopped between them and rose to point straight at me. Aiming at my heart with a .38 caliber lady's pistol, she slowly climbed onto the back of the sofa. Sitting on the edge of the back of the sofa, she made several gentle rotations with her hips. She unbuckled the classic metal buckle of the short pants, unzipped the pants halfway down, and made bigger rotations with her hips, chattering, I feel good doing this. This sofa excites me. Damn it. She played me for a fool, making the mysterious face of someone seriously agonizing about humanity's fate to be trifling. She then left the sofa and laid herself down in the bathtub. Still on the sofa's back were her vinyl short pants, limp and drooping, reflecting my despair. Through my down part, burning with desire against all reason, I watched her pour body shampoo and water onto her cream-colored body. She trembled lightly, though obscured by steam. After she finished the stimulating bath, she got out of the tub and pointed at the back door with the revolver. Cream-colored water drops dripped continually to the floor. She was still naked, without even short pants. Through the back door, we headed for the beech woods. The branches, with their broad, dry leaves, and the large shadows the beeches cast throughout their entire length were all screaming. We trod slowly into the screaming beech woods. The early evening orange light licked at her naked body. Her white, seemingly fragile feet were lightly breaking the fallen leaves. As I approached, she raised her revolver slowly, stopping me. Ah, she said. Ah, I said. Your shoes are a little worn out, she said. They're okay being a little worn out, I replied, looking down and comforting myself. I had been thinking too seriously about my life, and I was therefore playing with my life. In the next moment, she was dancing, encompassed by the scream of the beech woods. Her long dark hair, reaching down to the waist, was shearing through the deafening scream, slicing it into thousands, even tens of thousands of pieces. You should say something, she told me. I have nothing to say. Just tell me how I can safely get out of this damn place. She laughed out loud and raised the revolver, making a smile, the deepest, most depressing one I'd ever known. Just for a very brief moment, she put her finger on the trigger. I closed my eyes, and the most disturbing, desperate scream I'd ever known stopped the beating of my heart. She laughed. As I opened my eyes, she continued laughing. It's not difficult at all. She pointed somewhere behind me with the already fired revolver. You just walk straight down that way. You're not so stupid as to get lost, so it's not difficult at all. She then let her hand go limp, lowering the revolver. From the revolver's muzzle protruded a little silver metallic stick. On the stick hung a pennant of dark red silk cloth, resembling a tongue. On the pennant was written in childish blue letters, like a scene in a comic book, the following words: "Fooled ya." I survived, of course. People survive all the time. The program, conducted by Believe It or Not Knowledge, doesn't need many props. A can of boiled beans, a stainless steel plate, a bathtub, a toilet, a sofa, some petty political scandals, married celebrities in the entertainment world, a revolver, and a beechwoods in late autumn. A female or male short pantsist who can act out an exotic fantasy of death. Many users who can get comfort from this are needed. Many men and women who desire to experience death without being dead barely survive the critical situation but come back 100% alive. They then say, "I survived." We survive by continuously lying to ourselves. I imagine the great emptiness appearing in front of us in the moment that the power of this entire hologram finishing with "Fooled ya" turns off. We will then smile the grimmest, most bitter smile ever and step slowly onto the bottom of the emptiness, forever. They Were Fated to Be Trifling. Written by Baek Minsuk. They Were Fated to Be Trifling is a short story by Baek Minsuk, published in his collection 16 Stories of Believe It or Not Knowledge, published by Munji Publishing Company. The English version is translated by Sune Huang and narrated for this audiobook by Jason Lee. This audiobook was produced in 2021 with the support of the Literature Translation Institute of Korea.